Last episode, I cleaned out the attic and uninstalled my furnace. Now I'm back in the attic, giving it one final cleaning before I start installing insulation. Welcome to Paul's Passive House. To start, I'm attaching a bar to one of the studs in my attic. This will hold the roll of foil while I unfurl it. Foil insulation comes in rolls 4 feet wide by 100 feet long. Foil is an essential part of my insulation strategy because it provides me with a radiant barrier. I'm attaching the foil to the bottom of the studs that run right under my roof deck. To accomplish this, I'm using 1/2 inch T50 type staples. This is a very simple project, and the only thing slowing me down is my inexperience and the awkward workspace. Well, it's starting to get a little hot up here, so let's go downstairs, have a drink, and listen to another song.
dry air.
Now that I have the drywall removed, let's do an inspection. As you can see, the conditions behind my walls are horrific. Clearly, there have been infestations of bugs, mice, and rats. There are droppings and spider nests, and if you look below the window, you can see signs of water infiltration as well. And due to the spaces between the studs and the exterior sheathing, the critters were able to move freely along the bottom sill plate of these walls. This is all starting to make me a little sick, so I'm going to clean up real good and bleach this wall before doing any other work. Well, here we are again. This time I have Bronson with me. No more Bulldog. He's at his mom's house. Bronson's a good boy, although he can be camera shy. And he's just going to lay here and be cute. You'll notice in the video that I had to stop and clean everything, and that process ended up taking a few weeks. Now, I don't have everything exposed yet, and you'll see more video of me exposing the walls and looking behind other sections and deciding what's going to go and what's going to stay and so on. But I ended up doing a whole bunch of prep work before installing insulation in both the attic and the exterior walls. This included caulking all the sill plates at both the top and bottom of the walls and using spray foam for the larger gaps in the corners and around the windows. As I was doing all this prep work, a few major problems presented themselves to me. The first was I didn't really know which order I should be doing all these projects in. There was the attic insulation, there was an update to the electrical, there was the main floor walls insulation, there was the floor, which was horribly out of level, and the concrete was in poor shape. I had to uninstall some HVAC that had asbestos, and there were holes in the floors from the old HVAC. When they poured the concrete foundation, they put in these old clay pipes, and that's where the HVAC used to run. And I had canceled all that out and filled it with foam a few years back before I started any of this and moved all my HVAC into the attic, which you saw me uninstall in the last episode. Now, I've done a ton of home improvement projects in the past, but this was by far the biggest that I had taken on in quite some time. I had flipped a property probably 5 or 6 years ago, and that was a huge monumental task. It took almost a year, and it was a real pain in the ass. And this was the biggest project I had really taken on in that realm since that time. So I was a little rusty, to say the least, and I was getting overwhelmed. Now, as I was going through this process of cleaning everything up and prepping for the next step, which I wasn't 100% sure was going to be yet, I didn't really know what the next step was. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't exactly sure what. I noticed a huge problem. You see, there was a giant gap between the bottom of my wall and the top of my foundation. So big, in fact, that I could see right through to the outside. Now, I knew about this gap years ago and filled it. But I also knew that I didn't do a great job of resolving this gap. So while there was a piece of siding on the outside of the house covering this gap, there wasn't enough to really make it sealed. And for a passive house, I needed it to be sealed. This was a huge air gap that needed to be resolved. And it also led to all kinds of infestations. I got all kinds of bugs and rodents over the years, and it was a real mess. Well, this gap became very clear to me early on in this process, and it became clear that I had to fix it ASAP. So it moved up to the top of my list. The only problem was I wasn't exactly sure how to resolve it. I didn't know how I was going to fill it. I wasn't sure what the right process was. So I had to pause everything and do a lot of research and a lot of thinking and a lot of mock-ups, and I did some practice fixes where I would install something and then uninstall it and then install it a different way. It became a real mess. But anyway, fixing that gap became my number one priority because I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything getting into the house today, as in like next week or this afternoon or whatever. There was a big enough gap where a snake could have just slithered right in here, or a rat, and we have plenty of rats in this neighborhood, and I certainly didn't want them in the house. Now, the reason this gap was there was because of something I alluded to in the very first episode of this series, and that's that all the houses in this neighborhood require a lot of maintenance. And the reason they require maintenance is because there's expansive soils all throughout the Front Range, specifically bentonite clay. Now, there's lots of bentonite clay in my neighborhood, and over the years it expands and contracts and shrinks and swells, and it causes concrete foundations to move and shift and ultimately to sink. Now, the reason why my concrete had sunk so far was because the previous owners of this house didn't resolve a very major but very easily overlooked issue. And that's that originally my foundation, if that's this right here, the outside dirt was graded towards the foundation. And so anytime it would rain, that rain would run towards the house. Well, right when I moved in, I resolved this issue and I graded everything away from the house. And then a few years after that, I installed a French drain around the entire perimeter of the house and aggressively sloped all of the dirt away from the house and towards that French drain. Now, I also put down plastic and I compacted it, and then I put rocks over top of it. So currently, the drainage issues shouldn't be a problem. I've got all the dirt sloped very steeply away from the house, and it all goes into a French drain, which then takes it out towards the curb. I've also got a well that I dug to house water in the event of a deluge. So I did a whole bunch of work. This was a couple years ago now, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And so I'm very confident that the house is going to stay dry, at least at the foundation level. Now, there's some other things we'll get into later on in this series that I'm going to do to the exterior of the house to ensure that that water stays away from the house. But for now, that's all you really need to know. That's why my foundation had sunk so low, because the people that lived here before didn't take the time to just grade all that dirt away from the foundation. It's a very important detail that you should be aware of if you have a home, or if you live in somebody else's home. If you're a tenant in somebody else's house and you notice that things are sloped towards the house, you should tell your landlord right away. They'll want to know this, along with any other problems with drainage in general. Drainage and water infiltration are the biggest problems that houses have. So as a good tenant or a good homeowner, whichever you are, you're going to want to manage that right away. Now, you might be wondering, well, why did I install things and then uninstall them? Why did I do mock-ups, and why did I take all that time to figure out how I was going to solve these sort of basic problems? I mean, they're big problems, but they're also sort of simple. Well, that's because I'm doing a passive house retrofit. So that means that I have to have a continuous air barrier. I have to have a continuous thermal barrier. And I had to keep all of that readily in mind in order to solve these problems. So I couldn't just do the simplest, easiest thing and cover it up or whatever. I had to really sit and think, okay, how am I going to install my air barrier? How am I going to maintain a continuous thermal break? Will I have any thermal bridging, and so on? All of those things had to be kept in mind. And what that meant is I had to do drawings and mock-ups and then figure out, 5 steps down the road, how is my solution today going to affect that solution in 6 weeks or however long? And so I had to sort of play 3D chess. And that took me an extraordinary amount of energy and effort. I'm not used to doing it, especially in this context. And so there was quite a bit of a learning curve. Now that I've done it, though, things seem to be moving along much more quickly. And you'll see in episodes that I'll publish later, especially when I switch projects to some of the other passive house projects that I'm going to be doing, how things are going to move much more quickly. So in the next episode, you'll see that I've skipped ahead quite a few weeks. There's going to be some things installed that you won't see me installing. There's going to be some jumps in time here, and I apologize for that. As I look now at the footage that I gathered then, I wish I had gathered a lot more. I wish I had spent a lot more time recording and a lot less time doing the work, although that's only in hindsight. At the time, and as I mentioned in previous episodes, my focus was just to get this done. Being a videographer and publishing all this on YouTube was an idea that I had from the beginning, but my dedication to actually collecting that video footage came much later. And so it gets better as time goes on. And it will get better as I publish more and more and more. I want to thank you for watching, and Bronson thanks you, and we'll see you in the next episode.